Hello there and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelvin and I'm a front-end developer. I like to explore the web landscape, and whenever I find something interesting I like to document it, previously through writing, but these days I'm enjoying making videos, so I make videos about what I find. If you're interested in this type of content, subscribe to my channel. In this video we'll be talking about how to use Firebase to integrate Google Analytics into your project. But first, what is analytics? Analytics, as it relates to websites and web applications, is the process of tracking and measuring what users do on your websites. So why is it important? One of the main reasons you want to do this is to understand how people find your websites or your web application. So analytics could tell you whether they came from Google search, they came from social media, they came from a marketing campaign you're running. It helps you to track where people are coming from. This way you know where to invest your efforts or what efforts are working. Also, it does help you understand your SEO, and especially because Google Analytics has an integration with Google Search Console, another product that is used to track how people are getting to your website from Google Search, what they search for, and this is important for SEO. Speaking of SEO, in my previous video I talked about why SEO is important and if it's still necessary in the current AI landscape that we're in, so check out that video. Another reason you would want to track your website analytics is because you need to understand if your marketing campaigns are working. Lastly, and maybe most importantly, tracking your analytics helps you to understand conversions. The conversion is when the user performs the action on your website you want them to do. So maybe you have an e-commerce website. Conversion will be when a user buys a product. So with all of that said, how do you start tracking your website analytics? One of the most simple ways is Google Analytics. But for me, I already use Firebase on this project that I've been working on called behaviour.africa. So I'll show you how I use it, why I use it, and some of the things you can actually track while using it. The first thing you want to do is to add the Firebase SDK to your application. If you're using a popular JavaScript framework like React or Vue, you can easily just run npm install Firebase, or if you're using Yarn or any of those other package managers, you can use the required commands as well. For example, with Yarn, it's yarn add Firebase. Also, you don't have to install the SDK. You can also pull the JavaScript source code as you would see in the documentation. Once you add Firebase to your project, you need to add your config, which you would get by creating a Firebase project. That will mean you have to go to console here, create a new project and go through the prompts. I wouldn't be creating a new project because I'm almost on my limit. But once you go through the process of creating a new project, you get a config and it looks something like this. Once you do that, you add it to your project. So I'll be switching to my text editor here. I use Nuxt, which is a Vue framework. For me, the setup is quite simple. This is the Nuxt configuration file where you can add all of the global logic and packages and setup configuration that your application needs. And here you can see where I add a Firebase plugin. The Firebase plugin itself is quite simple. I import initialize app, which is the first thing you need to run to set up Firebase. Then I import get analytics and is supported. Then I import get Firestore because I use Firestore as the database of the application. Then I also import my own Firebase config, which I already showed previously. It looks something like this. Then initialize Firebase. Here I also set up Firestore, so I can now start to call it in different files. Here I do a check. So this check I'm doing here is because I don't want to be logging to analytics while developing the application. So that's why I added this here, and also added is supported. So if your server environment supports Firebase, essentially if it has the requirements that are needed to run Firebase, then we get analytics and you have Firebase up and running. The next thing is, how do you actually use it to log and track analytics? The cool thing is you don't really need to do much at this point. It's already tracking general things. For example, when somebody views a page and someone navigates to the next page, if someone engages with something on the page, maybe they click the button, it also tracks the engagements. So all of this is by default. No setup has been done yet. So how do we manually add events and track them? Back in the code, on the home page, I have this view all startups button. So this is startup.behaviour.africa. On the home page, I have this view all startups button, and I want to track when people click it. So I have this code here for that. On mouse down, log analytics events, and then I have these custom events that I have created here. For the log analytics events, the code looks like this. Again, we call get analytics and log events. We import this from Firebase Analytics. Then we pass two parameters to this. We have event name, which is what was passed here, and also event parameters. So I'll come back to this in a moment. Here I also do the check whether we're in development, and then get analytics, and then log the events. The log events method takes in three parameters, takes in the analytics instance, takes the event name, and the event parameters are undefined. In this case, we are not passing any parameters. We just want to count every time this button is clicked. But what if you want to track even more? For example, I have this list of startups. So if you click the view all startups, you see there are 54 startups, and each of these startups is different, so has a different name. One thing that I want to track is the learn more button when people click this, because I want to know which startups they are interested in when they interact with the site. So I have this component startup bio, and you would see the code for the learn more button here. On mouse down, I have this handle click function. So we can go down and see this. Again, we have the log analytics events method, which we have here. This time the event we're logging is startup link clicked. And you notice here we pass an object as a parameter. And the object is startup name, and then we pass the startup's name, and this event is logged. Because of that, on Google Analytics, you would see you can go down into your engagements and you can start to see the startups that were clicked. For example, on November 1st, you can see these are the startups that were clicked from the site. Of course, you can add some more details. Maybe you want to track what device the user was on. Maybe you want to track some other information. You can do that by passing in more parameters. Of course, you can build on this. You can look more at the Firebase documentation. That's firebase.google.com/docs. yeah, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed this video, you want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, may the code be with you. Peace.